Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. First and foremost, all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Merchak, Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders, a great millstone, who rule well and teach well, and who have learned this truth from through the power and spirit of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace and salutations unto all Akim, you brothers preaching this word in truth and in sincerity across the four corners of the earth, and shalom to the hopeful elect, you sincere believers scattered wherever you may be. And before I begin, Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father. Bahashim means in the name. Yahweh Shai is the true name of the only begotten Son. And Rachak Wadash is the Spirit Holy, which is the Holy Spirit. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew tongue, the Lashawan Wadash. So this one, I decided just uploading this raw through the Spirit. Just getting into some prophecy. Getting into some prophecy. I was watching the brothers and the elders, the Sequanium, down in Indy. And, basically which inspired this video just to roll, man, because judgment is coming down the pipe, and it's coming down very soon. We know that we're in these latter days, and we know that judgment is coming forth. And the Lord, is basically fed up. He's fed up with this place, right? And prophecy will come. It will not tarry. It will surely come. So this is more so a warning of what's to come. Death, really, ultimately, is what's coming. And Lord willing, we can grab the balance of how to escape the coming death that's coming to this entire planet, to this entire world. Because the slain of the Lord is going to be many. And we just hope and pray that we be delivered, that we be covered in those days. Because the day of the Lord, when that day comes, and prior to those days, it's going to be dark and gloomy, full of chaos. It's not what the Christian church cuts it up to be, to where it's hugs and kisses, rainbows, and a so-called white man is flying down from heaven with with baby angels shooting arrows and shit. Nah, man, it's gonna be complete chaos. And ultimately, that's what the Lord wants. That's what's going to happen, because after that chaos is what? The kingdom of heaven. We know that these things has to happen. We know that it has to be bad in order for it to be good. Eventually. Is the climax, and then the falling. I forgot the terminology of it. But just like in a good movie, you have the beginning, the rising action, climax, falling action, and the resolution. So that climax, we're going to get into some scriptures, and Lord willing, this will be edifying onto you. So without further ado, so like I was rambling a little bit, this is Jeremiah 25 and 29. It reads, "For lo, I will begin to bring evil," and evil meaning what? Bad times, "on the city which is called by my name." And we know it says, "And should ye be utterly unpunished?" Speaking of, because it goes in, he lists, the scriptures list all the kings, basically. Basically listing everybody, okay, so to speak. But it says, verse 29 again, all right, from the top, it says, "For lo, I begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name, and should ye be utterly unpunished?" So that's right. If he, and mind you, Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. So if he brings evil upon us, right, if he brought the curses upon us, if he brings judgments upon us, the people that he loves, the people that he cares for, how much more the heathen, Because the heathen are going to have to pay too. They're going to have to drink of that cup. And we know through the scriptures that they're going into slavery in the kingdom of heaven. You can read a little bit about that, and Isaiah 60 comes to mind. For the nation that does not come to serve thee, loosely paraphrasing, is going to perish. Revelation 2, verse around 25. They're going to be in servitude to the Israelites, starting with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the 12, King David, and the elect. But continuing on in verse 29, it says, Ye shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith the Lord of hosts. So all the earth is going to get it, one way or the other. And we just hope and pray that we be covered. Right? Psalm 34:7. It says, Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words. And that's what we're doing. That's what the prophets are doing. We're uttering the words of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua before they happen. It says, Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, The Lord Yahweh shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout, as they that tread the grapes, against all the inhabitants of the earth. It says, A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. For the Lord hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord. All right, and the sword representing what? Destruction. Ultimately, destruction, death. It says, and actually, let's grab the word controversy real quick in the etymology. Or Etymon Online. It's like controversy. I'm going to misspell it. Control. It says disputation. And when you look up that word disputation, it says debate, dispute, controversy, disagreement. It says debate, prolonged agitation. Woo! Prolonged agitation of contrary opinions. Yeah, because what are the other nations, doing? Everything opposed to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua's ways, because they were set up, like that in the first place. They don't worship Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. They worship works of men, idols. Useless items, useless objects. Their ideologies is off. Their whole way of thinking is off. The whole way, that they live is off. And then the on top of the way that they treat the apple of his eye. So the heathen have a lot to pay for as well, man. It said, what nation have not taken a part of her spoils, loosely paraphrasing. All these other nations had their chance to rule. All these other nations, had us under their foot, so to speak. Still to this day, they benefit off the Israelites' captivity. So they're not all fucking squeaky clean either, so to speak. We know that the main judgment is coming to who? Esau Edom, the so-called white man, for all the atrocities that he has done. Right? But also, their right-hand man Moab. And along with all the other nations, man, Ammon, Elam. But it says controversy, prolonged agitation of contrary opinions, quarrel, disagreement, turning against, contention. It's a turn in the opposite direction, disputed, turned against, from contra, against. Yeah, he's against these nations. He said he will plead with all flesh. He's going to judge all flesh, man. Okay. From here, let's go to Isaiah 66 and 15. Salaki. Isaiah 66 and verse 15, it says, "For behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with fire." Yep. Through how? Via the chariots, and also via the ICBM missiles that will be shot off. And we know the main target is going to be here in America. America is going to be wiped off, swept away from the face of the earth. You know, that says, "And with his chariots, like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire." Yeah. And what's rebuke? Correction. And what's also fire? Represent a cleansing mechanism. Now, we know that America will never be inhabited ever again. All right, its smoke is going to ascend up for a very, very long time as a token for what happens when wickedness had exceedingly reached up the heavens. I'm putting two scriptures together in my mind, but you know, its sin had reached up to the heavens. Is going to be a token. What happens, man? You know, the destruction that's coming here. It said, "For by fire and by sword, Salaki, and that the cleansing mechanism, right? We know that America will never be inhabited, but what? Also, the fire is going to reach our homeland, Israel. That fire is going to go over there as well. We know that's going to be a hit, but what? It's going to be cleansed. Now that land is a holy land. It's our holy land. Speaking of the Israelites, that's our holy land, and that will be cleansed and built back up through what? Through the captivity of the heathen. Is it not rightfully so? Do you not reap what you sow? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. If we built up your kingdom, what do you expect in return? But we're going to rule in righteousness. Okay? Because mind you, we had slaves back in the ancient times. But, you know, now growing up in this Western society, society makes it out to be that slavery. They think of the so-called white man, how they treated us, you know. When they think of slavery, they think it automatically is as negative, when really it's in the scriptures, man. It's lawful for us to have slaves, and you could look it up. That's why we're gonna have slaves in the kingdom of heaven. Now, mind you, it's not gonna be cupcakes and rainbows for the fucking heathen. Of course not. You know. And don't get me wrong, Esau Edom is gonna, we're gonna rule them with a rod of iron. Don't get me wrong, Esau Edom is gonna get fucked up, to say the least. But it's gonna be done in righteousness. Because we'll be perfected. But not to stray away, it said, "For by fire," Isaiah 66 and 16, "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many." There's going to be so much death, that is going to be so many dead bodies upon this face of the earth. There's going to be nobody to take care of it until what? That's in Ezekiel, it tells you that one of Esau Edom's first job and the slaves, Salakia, is going to be to bury them bodies. This is Jeremiah. Actually, I think I had it there. Yep, Salakia. Let me go back to Jeremiah 25. We left off at verse 32. It says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. And the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth, even to the other end of the earth." Did it not say he's going to plead with all flesh? It said, "They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. You know, as the brothers down there in India were going into, man, that's coming to America. There's going to be so many dead bodies, just like as you have shit. Like, say you're walking, you're walking in a field near a dog park. You got all them landmines and shit. And, you know, you're trying to hopscotch your way around the shit. That's how it's going to be with these dead bodies, man. Imagine the stench. Imagine the eerie feeling is going to be in them days. It's coming. So this is what we have to prep our minds for and get right with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, because we don't want to be on the receiving end of that. We want to have the hedge around about us, man. From there, let's jump to Second Esdras. Why? Because Second Esdras 15 and 16 are the main prophetic scriptures we go to. You know, speaking of these latter days, how it's going to be. You know, on some all the apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic movies, pre-apocalyptic movies, TV shows. Black Summer comes to mind. Book of Eli. The Walking Dead, just to list a few. You know, it depicts what's that new one that came out with the virus? But a lot of these movies depict on what's coming. Second Ezra 15 and verse 5. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Yeah, because famine's going to be here as well. People are going to be pining away for the lack of food. People are going to be eating their kids, eating their dogs, cats. Hell, might even be eating their own selves. You know, for the lack of food, the lack of bread. But what? You know, his servant shall eat. His servant shall drink. He's gonna make way for his elect. He's gonna make way for the ones that he loves. Speaking of who? The Lord. It said, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Let me jump down to verse 14. Okay, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Yeah, race wars, you know, civil war. It's going to be like the purge. Because think, you damn near got, especially here in Indiana, everybody damn near has a strap. And we know Esau, Edom, and their blessing is what? The sword. What's the modern day sword? A gun. All their guns, all their military equipment, grenades, and all their gadgets and shit are going to be coming out in them days. This is why the Lord is what has to lift up that standard. He will lift up that standard. We believe through faith. What is Isaiah 59? Let me grab that real quick. Because to withstand in those days, man, you basically just need the Lord. That's what it boils down to. Faith. Isaiah 59 and 19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And I believe when you go into that word standard, it goes into escape. You know? So we're going to be escaping from judgment. Lord willing, we be exempt from judgment. Ezekiel 9 and 4. But Lord willing, he's going to lift up that standard upon his elect to endure in these times that we're coming into. Because all hell, chaos is going to be breaking loose. So what do you think is going to happen when sword, like I said, what do you think is going to be happening when what? When one person stands up, it said, one people shall stand up and fight against another and swords in their hands. Bloodshed. that's going to lead and result in bloodshed. No warfare in the streets. It said, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. Yeah, they're not going to regard their government. You know, in modern day times, we don't necessarily have kings or princes anymore, but what? They're not going to care about the police. Not going to care about the government. Not going to care about any of that shit because what? It's life or death. It's survival of the fittest in them times. They're not going to regard that shit. And mind you, by then, because what? The police have their families as well. They're not going to be worrying about their job. What job? It's chaos everywhere. So think. They're not in that mind frame to what? They're going to be trying to protect themselves and their families. But we know, and that's for everybody. If not of the elect, then hey, good riddance. That's why we just pray and hope, man. We're part of that number. But it says, in the course of their actions thou shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Why? Martial law. Partly when I speak as a man, but exclusions. They're gonna be you're basically gonna be X'd out of society if you don't have that mark, the MOTB spoken of in Revelation, which is the RFID CHIP. Think you're gonna have curfews, regulations on what you could do, where you can go. It said, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And pride is what? Sirach 10 and 12. The beginning of pride is when one departed from the Most High, and his heart is turned away from his Maker. That's right. They ain't have the fear of the Lord upon them. It said, for pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination. Yeah, because the fear of the Lord, what? Let me grab it. So lock you, and I'll jump back. The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And then with that wisdom, Salakia, bear with me. Here it is. The fear of the Lord. Sirach 1 and 21. The fear of the Lord driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath. So if you have the fear of the Lord upon you, like a title just popped up on my phone right now with the brothers. One of the brothers had went into a lesson basically going into if you have the fear of the Lord upon you, it's like a cheat code. It's gonna where it is present, it turns away wrath. Because Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is in control. And if you love him, what? You're gonna keep his commandments. And what is he gonna do to the ones that he loves? Ultimately gonna spare them. Like it says in Psalm 2 and verse 12, kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way. When his wrath is kindled but a little, blessed are all they that put their trust in him. No. So honor the Son, reverence the Son, and basically greet him, seek him, right? Because like you did in the ancient times. Hey, one of our cousins is greet one another with a holy kiss. So in doing that, what it said, lest he be angry, you perish from the way. When his wrath is kindled but a little, that ultimately what appeases the wrath of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Ultimately, you repenting, you trying to seek him, and you trying to do right by him. Rehearsing the righteous acts, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. In that, you're fearing the Lord, and you're also exercising your faith. Speaking to myself first and foremost, but going back to Sirach 10 and verse 13, it said, "For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination. And therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities, it overthrew them utterly." And just as how the Lord brought plagues upon Egypt, he's bringing the plagues upon this Egypt. Egypt going into bondage, house of bondage, and double straits. Representing what? Or representing what? America. Okay. So from there, let's jump back. Salakia. I know I'm a little bit all over the place. Lord willing, it's all coming together. So it said because 2nd Ezra 15 and 18, "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation." Yeah, it's going to be a lack of food. And that lack of food, think if you're operating on fumes, if you're operating on fumes, you're obviously not going to be in the right state of mind. And especially to those that dwell without wisdom, how much more them? How much more the ones that are dependent upon the chemicals in the food, upon the pharmakia with the pharmaceuticals, their drugs and such. What happens when these people don't have their drugs to run to? What happens when these people don't have their fix, their daily fix of nicotine or alcohol or whatever they may be addicted to, that their vice is? They're going to do anything to get to that level again, or get some type of food up in them, or find a way to, So, hey, man, it's going to be complete hell up out here, man. This is why we must seek the Lord while he may be found, and call upon him while he is near. Because in them days, is going to be a famine of the word. It's not going to be the prophets out there in the highways and byways anymore. That's why we got to attend to the word. Take heed unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushua while he is near. While he still may be found, while wine is still in the streets, So Salakia, let me go to speaking of death, let me look up a search for death, right? Salakia. Death of many. No, it's not the one. Bear with me. Death. Oh, so yep, kind. It's the one that came to mind. Amos. 5 and 18. Salakia. Amos 5 and 18, it says, "Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light." Yeah, it's going to be eerie, gloomy, full of darkness and not light. Now, mind you, it's going to be bright spots for the elect. The elect are going to be cared for. He have care for his elect. But what woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord? Speaking of the Christians. Speaking of those that think, and even in that, now mind you, we hasten the day, right? We want that day to come, but it's not on a prideful tip to where we believe. Well, let me try to phrase this correctly, because we do believe, that we will be saved, humbly speaking, but we don't necessarily know, that keeps us humble. That keeps us in the fight. That keeps us trying to please and beg for Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's mercy. But some of these people think that, they're all that in a bag of chips. That no evil, no harm could touch them. Period. But their actions aren't following forth for what the scriptures say, that what the Lord have purposed us to do. That's why I said, to what end is it for you? How do you know? How do you know? How are you so sure that the Lord is coming with hugs and kisses and coming to save everybody? It's not the case. Amos 5:19, and as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. So you think you escape one judgment, you go to some other place, here's some more judgment. Basically, there's no running away from the Lord. Okay? It says, shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Yeah. Speaking of, we can apply that today to the holidays. Christmas, Easter, 4th of July, all these wicked days that our people worship, and the heathen. Their solemn assemblies, the days of, basically the days of the world, the days of the heathen that they celebrate. But that would basically be in the point. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light? Okay? Even very dark and no brightness in it. So I'll just end off on this. Nothing else is really coming to mind, but let me just grab this, end off on this. I believe that's Zephaniah. Or bear with me. Yep, Zephaniah 2. Call out Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, verse 3. And basically, this is the whole, to sum it up, right? Zephaniah 2 and 3. Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth. That's a key word, meek. That's a characteristic that the elect must strive for. Being in his flesh, meek, humble. It says, which have wrought his judgment, seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. So while the Lord's anger is coming upon all those that despise him, all those that take not heed to his words, it may be that you will be hid in the day when the Lord comes with his vengeance, with his rebuke, with flames of fire. With the famine, with the sword, with destruction, with that death. It may be that you be hid. So, hey, man, with that, Lord willing, this was edifying and also exhorting onto the flock. Hey, man, repent daily. Speaking to myself first and foremost. Keep seeking Yahweh Bashem Yahushai unto the end. And Lord willing, we endure unto the end and be saved. Again, all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Merchak, Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders, great millstone, who rule well and teach well. Shalom, Wa, Abba, Soon, chemotherapy 2023. Soon, Lord willing.